I see a lot of familiar faces, my friends also. Usually I speak extempo, but this is a very important session, so I created a presentation because from my former life in the corporate world, I know, from a presentation and having a visual representation, the recall is much better because this, I would like you to implement it and then later on teach your kids. So that's one of the reasons I, created a presentation. Back in 1983, there was this group called the Transcendental Meditation Group. It was created by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. He was more famous as the guru of the Beatles. And he came up with this Maharishi effect, which has been experimented in a lot of cities around the world. And that was recorded, analyzed, researched material on the effect of consciousness on everyone. So what he did was, he said if a group of people come together and meditate, they would have a profound impact on their environment. So the experiment they chose was that they will be able to bring down the level of crime in the city by doing meditation. So usually in Washington, D.C., around winter time, the crime rate goes up to 25%. And that year, they had a stated objective that around 9,000 people would come and meditate in Washington, D.C., and they would try and bring the crime rate to less than 5%. So when the police chief of Washington, D.C. heard this, he mockingly laughed. He said, it will rain 2 feet of snow in Washington, but the crime rate will never go below 20%. That year, the crime rate was 2%. So that's the effect of consciousness on everyone. Now, do you think that you sitting here, in all our daily lives in Dubai, completely cocooned, having the best of experiences, you have no role to play with the war that's happening in Ukraine or the crisis we have in Israel, Palestine? No, we do. We really do. Every time you have a conflict, with your spouse or with your colleagues or with your parents or with your children, you are actually adding to the bank of consciousness. You're adding more misery to the bank of consciousness. You're adding more agitation. And the reverse is also true. You can either be a blessing or you can be a curse. So the one thing that, you have this wisdom, I would really request is try to live as lightly as possible so that we don't create more conflict, because it eventually affects all of us. So it's in my personal interest to ensure that you are happy, because when you are happy, I'm also happy. Otherwise, it's just, if there are about 100 people and 80 of them are miserable, they will have an effect on the balance 20%, and they'll pull some more from that 20% into the 80. So that's how the consciousness. Yeah. So about 20 years ago, I met a master, an enlightened, ascended master in India, and he, taught us the methods of how to be happy, peaceful, almost all the time. Almost all the time. And I kind of implemented it, and that's how my life has been for the last 20 years. So my mission in life right now, I quit my corporate job about 4 years ago, and I'm completely, dedicated to having more and more people awaken and be more healthy and more and kind of, go down the healing path for themselves into self-transformation. And we have seen that from the past that you can't heal a group. Healing en masse is not possible, because if that was possible, a Buddha or a Jesus or all the avatars and masters over here would have succeeded. Healing is very, very individual, so you'll have to do it on your own. But what we've seen is our society, our parents, they don't teach us this. It's a monkey see, monkey do. We've seen how our parents lived. We've aped that. We've seen how, they have seen how their parents lived. And it just keeps continuing. But when you look at everyone, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of trauma, there's a lot of drama, and it's all unnecessary. So what I'm trying to do today is share those snippets with you, the tools within the 20 minutes that I've been given. So I'm going to give the quintessence, and let's see how this whole thing goes. The world evaluates you, and it's just so sad. The world evaluates you on how much of a materialistic success you are. How many cars you have, how many houses you've built. It is important, but that's really not the definition of success. Success means being holistically successful. If you generally look at people, and you just observe most of our lives, including our friends, everyone is caught in the eat, sleep, drink, entertainment, repeat cycle. And it's like they don't have anything more to life than that. Come the weekend, they gather together, they drink it up, and this is how life just keeps going on. The goal of every goal is peace. As I said, there's absolutely nothing wrong in being abundant. There's nothing wrong in chasing, the wealth, the materialistic success. We all love it. But chase it happily. Be ambitiously, happily ambitious. That's the motto. So if you really break it down, okay, I need that Audi car. Why do you need that Audi car? You kind of just start drilling down. It'll make me happy. It'll make me excited. Okay, why does it make you happy? Why does it make you excited? You just keep drilling down. Finally, you'll arrive at, okay, it gives me a sense of security and it makes me feel peaceful. So, what it does, what every goal does is eventually it leads you to making, you being peaceful. But happiness and peace is an inside job. It's not like, I get that job, I'll be happy. I get that partner, I'll be happy. I get that, house, I'll be happy. That's what we've done. We've kind of always kept everything in the external environment, and it's a very, very dangerous way to live, where your happiness and your peace is, in something else. So if you really drill it down, the goal of every goal is peace. So be happily, chase your goals, happily have the desires. If it doesn't happen, it's okay. There's something else meant for you. So as I was talking about success, you're truly successful only when it's holistically successful. So your physical personality, we have these five personalities: the physical personality, the mental personality, the intellectual personality, the emotional personality, and the spiritual personality. Only when we get all the five right, you can be actually considered a success. We have seen that. A lot of us have money, but we don't have the health. Or we have all these things and we don't have peace. So, we need to get all these aspects right. Let's quickly move into the physical personality. We had Ellie talking about this before, so I'm not going to go much into this. Yes, you need to have nutritious food. Somewhere about 6 years ago, I tried a program called WildFit. And when I was doing that, the author actually shared something very interesting. He said most of the food that we consume, which is empty carbs, it does not have nutrition in it. Nutrition is largely in the plants, in the vegetables, in the fruits, and in some of the animal protein. So when you don't eat that and you have empty carbs, what happens is you tend to feel hungry quickly. And that's something that the food industry has done. They want you to be constantly consuming. So what you need to do is, when you have plant-based, or nutrition that's fruits, vegetables, and animal protein, you'll find that you don't find the hunger. You don't feel the hunger so often, and then you'll see that you'll lose unwanted fat and other things from your body quickly. In terms of supplements, again, he's touched on it. But what's happened is our food chain is completely corrupted right now. In fact, Sadhguru and someone else has these programs called Save Your Soil, where there's no more nutrition in our soil. So we're not getting the minerals that we need to be getting from, from the foods that we consume. So some things we need to supplement, the minerals and the enzymes and other things that we need to do. We need to be doing yoga because as we age, we need flexibility. And it's very, very important for our organs to be flexible. So that's something that you really need to consider. You need to look at building the muscles. This is something else Ellie said. You need to build your muscles, and that's something that will hold you as you age, as you said, because I had an uncle, and he was hospitalized, and we could see how he was weighing around 85, 90 kilos, and just to get him from the bed to the washroom, there were about 4 or 5 people required. So that's not something that you want to put yourself through or your loved ones through as you age. Massage and body work is something that's required as well, because most of the emotions that we experience, the worry, the fear, and everything that goes and gets lodged in our muscles, and then eventually they manifest as diseases. So you need to do regular body work, massages. In fact, there's a great speaker called Human Garage who's coming, I think, around 6 o'clock today. I have been following his work for the last, I think, couple of years. And I think every third person is suffering from anxiety and fear and other things. He actually teaches you body work, which helps you release these stuck emotions in your body. Now, this is something which is the most important slide we'll be having today. Our mind is, if you have to break our mind, there is conscious mind and subconscious mind. The conscious mind is around 10% of our mind, and the subconscious mind is around 90% of our mind. So the most powerful part of our mind is the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is very local. All your achievements, your certifications, your personality, your ego, everything is contained in your conscious mind. And your subconscious mind is non-local, it's ancient. So it has all the stuff that you've picked up from earlier lifetimes as well. So it's all stored in the subconscious. All your unfulfilled desires, your unfulfilled patterns, everything is stored in the subconscious. Now what happens is, the conscious mind, it has logic, it has do's and don'ts, it has rules. The subconscious mind, on the other hand, it has no rules. It does not understand good or bad. It does not understand right or wrong. But at the same time, the subconscious has a formula. It understands deep and shallow. So if I have to give an example, if let's say, one of you had a fight with your partner, and your partner abused you verbally, and you're really upset about it, and you're crying, and you're crying and crying, 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, you're crying. Now, logically speaking, you had all the reasons to cry. He or she shouldn't have abused you. But your subconscious, which does not understand right or wrong, it does not understand good or bad, it only understands deep or shallow, it thinks, oh, she seems to love this so much, let's give her more of it. And your subconscious is connected to everyone else's subconscious. So that's why we see that, when we think of a friend and the friend calls us immediately, most of us, we dismiss it as coincidence, but it's not coincidence. And as the earlier example of the consciousness experiment, which Maharishi effect I was showing, we are all connected. We're connected to each other, we're connected to the tree, to the dog, to everything, we're connected. So the subconscious thinks, 2 days, 3 days, you're feeling so miserable, let's give her more of it. And now what happens? Your best friend comes and says something really nasty to you. And, you're again heartbroken. Like, I love her so much. How could she say that to me? 2 days, 3 days, again you're crying. Your subconscious thinks, man, she seems to love this so much. Let's give her more of it. So now it will conspire events when you're driving down, you'll meet with an accident. And you really end up thinking, life is just out to screw me. There is no divine justice. But it's actually you are the co-creator of your life. So the way you have been thinking, the way you have been feeling is what creates the next set of events in your life. So the way to snap out of this is it's our thoughts and feelings that create our life. So we have positive thoughts and we have positive feelings. We have been taught since childhood saying don't daydream. But I would say daydream because it's our thoughts that eventually become things. Similarly, positive feelings, whenever we have a happy moment, we quickly move on to the next thing. We don't stay and celebrate. We don't run our victory laps. You know, when someone wins athletics in the Olympics, you'll see that they run around the stadium with the flag and everything. So that's running the victory lap, and that's basically letting your system, it sink into your system that I love this feeling. The subconscious can be used in both ways. It need not just be, like, oh my God, I've been thinking negatively so much, so, it's going to screw me. The same thing, you think positively, you feel positively, and you feel more and more, chase your bliss. Find small things that make you happy. It could be eating that cheesecake, it could be going for a walk in the beach, it could be playing with your pet. Find more and more things to make you blissful. So then what happens is the subconscious starts thinking, oh, she seems to really love this so much. Let's give her more of it. So then it'll start conspiring events to give you bigger and bigger breakthroughs, bigger and bigger happier moments. You know why most of us fail in what, we start to do, we think about doing? So for example, you think that you're going to go and join the gym, and this time you're really determined. I'm going to make it. We've done that in the past. We've signed up for memberships. We've gone to the gym, and then after 2 or 3 weeks, boom, they're out. And this time you've really decided, no, I'm going to do it. And then you go, and instead of 3 weeks, 5 weeks later, you're out. Why this happens is because 2 things. There was a UCLA study where, as a child, obviously from the good intentions of your parents, on a daily basis, you listen to the word no for about 400 times. So before you reach the age of 10, you've listened to it something like 1.4 million times you've heard no. And so what happens is every time you want to do something, it comes from inside. No, you can't do it. We have the imposter syndrome. No, we can't do it. The other thing is that, and this is something I implemented 20 years ago, and it really changed my life, like how you can be a powerful being. You'll generally find that why do wives don't respect their husbands, why children don't respect their parents, why employees don't respect their bosses. There's only one reason. You are not worthy of your words. So when you say 5 minutes, it's never 5 minutes. It's half an hour. When you tell your wife, I'll be home in half an hour, and you come 2 hours later, and that happens 3 times, she's already written you off. So one of the ways you can become a powerful being is by saying it and doing it. Because for the subconscious mind, whether you have to open a bottle or you have to climb the Mount Everest, it's the same thing. So what happens is, there are so many things that we attempt to start. We start the gym, we start courses, we start, something else, and we drop it midway. So every time we drop something midway, it's registered as a subconscious fail. So even though at some point in time you are really determined that this time I'm going to make it, it's like 80% of your mind is conspiring against you. And we have been conditioned this way for 40 years, 50 years. So the only way to, decondition ourselves is to find small things, so where you say it and you do it. And this will really change you, and it will make you a powerful being, in the sense that when your relatives or your suppliers or your colleagues, when they know that Govind has said 10 minutes, he means it's 10 minutes. So they have a lot of respect for you. Similarly, it's not just the society. Your subconscious starts believing in you. Your subconscious thinks, If he has thought about it, and if he's decided to do this, then this guy is going to make it happen. Because, it has registered a lot of subconscious wins. So this is very, very important. Say it and do it. The intellectual personality, again, I will not touch much into it. This is the discriminative faculty within us, where you have to, our life is all about choices we make. We have to make decisions. Based on all the inputs that we have to make decisions. And then life gives you consequences. The consequences will sometimes be in your favor. The consequences sometimes will be against you. So the hack, and then what happens is when you get the consequences, you're supposed to make a counter choice, and then you'll again get a consequence, again counter choice. So this loop goes. One of the ways to hack this loop is whenever you are executing a choice, you've done all your homework, then you execute your choice with faith. Either faith in Christ, or faith in God, or faith in yourself. Whatever it is, execute it with faith. And then, when you receive the consequence, you receive it with gratitude. Even if the consequence is not in your favor, you decide, the universe knows better. There is some lesson for me here. So you receive the consequence with gratitude, and then you execute a counter choice. So this is something that will really help you. Because life is such, it's a game of chess. You make a move, the universe makes a counter move. You make a move, it'll keep testing you. At some point in time, it'll just allow you to win. It'll open its abundance and bounties to you. But you have to be very resilient in this game. The emotional personality. Whenever we go into retreats with ascended masters and enlightened gurus, we find that 80% of the questions are around relationships. Almost everyone is struggling with their boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, parents, children, colleagues. So this is something which is very important. As I said before, happiness and peace is an inside job. You don't leave it in the hands of external people and situations. You keep it, you protect it as much as possible. There is something known as the CAR method. That's the acronym. So you change the changeable, you accept the unchangeable, you remove yourself from the unacceptable. Every situation in life, you can apply this formula. So let's say you have a spouse, and he's got some, out of some 10 things, 3 are not really great aspects about him. Now you have a choice. Can I change him? Well, you attempted. You really didn't succeed. Then you have the next choice. Can I just, on all these 7 other parameters, he's good. He's a great guy. He's a good father. He's this, he's that. These 3 parameters, I'll just accept it. Or you might have yourself where these 3 things are non-negotiable for me. It's unacceptable. What happens is most of the time, we're just banging our head against the wall. We are not changing the situation. We are not accepting the unchangeable. And we are not removing ourselves from the unacceptable. So life is as simple as that. You just follow, just execute this formula. And this, move on. There's no need for drama. There's no need to create more anguish. As I said in the beginning, you are adding more and more karma. You're adding more and more misery into the bank of consciousness, and that's really not something that you want to do. This was something a master shared, which is very, very important. How men and women should be. Today we find that most men are getting emasculated. They're not men anymore. I'm sorry, guys. And there's a lot of wokeism, and there's a lot of shit that's going on. And because of this, what's happening is it's having an effect on the women. They are becoming more masculine to compensate for the lack of masculinity in men. So what men need to do is they need to be a source of protective love in all the women in their lives. Whether it's your sister, whether it's your mother, it's your girlfriend, your daughter, you demonstrate protective love. So for example, the time you call and ask your wife, did you have lunch? That's demonstration of protective love. You take your mom, to the church or the temple, you hold her hands. That's demonstration of protective love. So every woman in your life who's in your circle, they should feel the protective love of you. Because if they do that, then, there's a lot of misery around. Most women are not happy. They're not fulfilled. So I think if the men step up their game, they can really, really help address the situation. And for all the women, you need to be a source of happiness for all the men in your life. It's not that you become a doormat in the process. You accept anything that's thrown at you. That's not what I'm saying. But you have to largely be a source of happiness. You generally look in a party, if there is a very gregarious woman, she's, laughing, and everyone automatically gravitates towards her. So what happens is right now, the man comes in home and he sees a nasty face, he walks into fights, he walks into arguments, and man being man, he doesn't know how to handle, he starts escaping. He'll stay back late in office, he'll hang around in the pub with his friends, or he'll have an affair, or he'll be in Bangkok, but he keeps running away. So women, 95% of the time at least, try to be happy. Yes, those 5%, if you have to give him hell, and then go back to being a happy woman. You'll find that your relationships magically start working out because men like being around a happy woman. The spiritual personality. This is the most important. I see our generation especially is largely disconnected from this. And because of that, they're not really tapping into the power. There's a much smarter way to live where you can get God into your team and you can sit in the Rolls Royce and enjoy, him driving the Rolls Royce and you're just enjoying the view. We are really not tapping into it and we are struggling because of that. Life is one grand flow. It's like the Ganges River or the Nile River. It's flowing. What you're supposed to do is go with the flow. Be aligned. There is what most of us are trying to do is, when the situation is not favorable to us, we are trying to flow upstream, and that's just making our life more and more challenging. As children, we have the ego component and we have the child component within us. But as children, the God component was more, supreme. The ego was not really there. As we became adults, the ego took over. You are you, I am me. We are in this big bad world. You're out for yourself, I'm out for myself. There's a lot of ego games going on. But as children, that's not how we were. So for example, if your dad was holding your hand and crossing a busy street, he will watch, there's car coming, he'll take 2 steps backward. There's a bike coming, he'll take 3 steps backward, and finally you run and you reach the other side. In this whole process, you were holding daddy's hands, you were singing, you were dancing, and you crossed the road. It was not your job to look at the car, at the bike. It was his job to take you across safely. I don't know what happened when we became adults. We've lost that connection, and we think we need to do it ourselves. But we need to, we can tap into this. One of the questions we as healers and therapists, psychologists, is everyone's coming and asking us, how to find the one, And I also advise this as an antidote to heartbreak. Keep God as the center of your life. Keep universe, the source, whatever you want to call it, as the center of your life. And let your life revolve around source energy. Because source will never let you down. The husband or the boyfriend is a bonus. They are there, you will enjoy, you'll have fun, you'll celebrate. But life being life, it's constantly changing. They can leave, you can have a breakup, there can be death. What happens is when your life revolves around source, you won't get crumbled, you won't get depressed, your life won't shatter. When you are dependent on the human being, It's a very, very disastrous way to live. That's what's happening with a lot of people. This is my last slide. Now, how to make this happen for you quickly? How to manifest things quickly? This is a frequency scale. So most people, when you're low in energy, let's say you're operating at 100 kilowatts. It's a very crude reference that I'm making. Life is a struggle. You'll have few days of happiness. You'll have few days of misery. Sometimes life slaps you around. It's just normal people, normal life. When you vibrate at 600, you are the king or queen. Life happens to you. You kick in the law of attraction. Things happen to you effortlessly. You just have to think, you just have to feel, and it just manifests itself. And how do you get to 600? Is by meditation, specifically sound meditation, where you chant, whether you chant Om, you chant you keep chanting it. There's a lot of energy that's released from your psychic centers called the chakras, and that energy will raise you up, and it'll eventually, within like a month or two, it'll go to 600. At the same time, you need to ensure that all the energy dissipators are plugged. It's like a hole in the bucket. The energy dissipators are basically, all the negative emotions are energy dissipators. Anger, fear, worry, guilt, shame. And you just plug those. I don't have the time to go into it. But plug it, do these practices, and you'll find your life magically changes in about 2-3 months. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Govind. I really wish we had more time on this subject, because I personally think this is one of the most important ones, aside from all the wonderful technologies we have. So thank you so much. If anyone has any questions for you, where can they find you? Where can they find you? Okay, perfect. Anywhere around here? Any booths? Are you hanging around? Biohacking, perfect. Okay, so you can find Biohacking, where you can find and ask all the questions about your level of consciousness and how to raise in that vibration. Thank you.